Petrodollar. How did the US get it right?
The United States is the world's most powerful country. It is not the world's largest country by land mass. Russia has 6 million square miles, almost twice the size of the United States, nor is it the most populous. China's population is more than 4 times that of the United States. On the other hand, it is a young nation, less than 250 years old, much younger compared to most of the other leading nations. However, with the world's largest economy with a highly developed financial system, a permanent member of the UN Security Council, a nucleic superpower with hundreds of overseas military facilities, and leadership roles in multiple international institutions, there is no other country to match US's superiority. But how did US become the global sole superpower? Perhaps a kind of superpower that mankind has never seen. As a country established on the displacement and death of American Indians, expansionism was always in America's DNA. The contemporary American economy has its origins in the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries when European settlers sought economic gain. The New World went from a marginally successful colonial economy to a modest, self-sufficient farming economy, and finally to a highly sophisticated industrial economy. Following World War II, things started unfolding. The US was the only country to emerge from the war with healthy economic and strong military standards, putting it in a unique position to lead the global economic system. The outcome was the Bretton Woods system, a new global financial structure. In 1944, 44 nations gathered in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. The interests of the two main economic superpowers of the period, the United States and Britain, dominated the discussion. However, these two countries' interests were far from aligned. Britain serves as the outgoing superpower, with huge debts on its balance sheet, while the United States shows its readiness to assume the role of the world's great creditor. The countries agreed to keep their currencies pegged to the dollar, while the dollar was pegged to gold. The goal was to develop a framework that would facilitate international trade while also safeguarding individual countries' policy autonomy. Two international institutions were established to ensure conformity with the new rules: the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, IBRD, later, World Bank. In effect, this arrangement gave the US the dominant position in global economic affairs. With the implementation of the Bretton Woods system, countries began to settle their international balances in dollars, which were convertible to gold at a fixed rate of $35 per ounce. The United States was responsible for maintaining gold's dollar price and had to adjust the dollar supply to ensure future gold convertibility. Initially, the Bretton Woods system worked as expected. Japan and Europe were still reconstructing their economies after World War II, and demand for American goods and services as well as dollars was high. The system appeared secure because the United States possessed almost 3/4 of the world's official gold reserves. However, because of the United States' expansionary monetary policy, which increased the supply of dollars, the balance of payments scenario became a problem. The United States experienced a balance of payments deficit in the 1950s, followed by a current account deficit in 1959. In the 1960s, European and Japanese exports became increasingly competitive. United States' share of global output fell, resulting in low demand for dollars. This makes the gold conversion more appealing. Meanwhile, the United States' poor balance of payments, in combination with substantial military and other spending, resulted in a massive supply of dollars all over the world. In the meantime, gold supplies had remained largely intact. Foreign-held dollars eventually outnumbered gold in the United States. The country was vulnerable to a gold run, and the negative sentiment about the USA's ability to meet its commitments jeopardized the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency. Many efforts were made both locally and internationally to adjust the U.S. balance of payments and maintain the Bretton Woods system. These were supposed to be quick remedies until the balance of payments could be rebalanced. But they only delayed the inevitable. Many countries that had earlier agreed to a gold-backed dollar as the global reserve currency now had severe reservations. There were fears that the official gold parity rate of $35 an ounce was now overvaluing the dollar, since dollar claims on gold exceeded the actual gold supply. United Kingdom, France, and Germany openly questioned the cash-strapped and debt-crazed United States' ability to lead the world economy. Despite international pressure to maintain the dollar's value by limiting government expenditure, Washington showed little fiscal and monetary restraint. With rising inflation and the threat of a gold rush, President Richard Nixon and his team enacted a plan in 1971 that terminated dollar convertibility to gold, effectively ending the Bretton Woods system. The United States, on the other hand, realized that moving away from the gold standard under the Bretton Woods Agreement would result in a drop in the dollar's artificial global demand. If the U.S. was to continue its expenditures, it needed to maintain this artificial dollar demand. Meanwhile, the Arab-Israeli conflict of 1973 drove up oil prices. Arab oil-producing states impose an embargo on countries backing Israel. The oil embargo doubled the price and limit the overall supplies. Long queues at gas stations and irate drivers became a new norm in Europe. That was a wake-up call for the West, particularly for the US. They realized the value of energy security. Energy security is a must, and there is only one country that could guarantee that: the House of Saud. Discussions started at the highest levels. Subsequently, the US and Saudi Arabia reached a significant accord. The US agreed to provide military protection for Saudi Arabia's oil fields. The US also committed to sending weaponry to the Saudis and, most importantly, to guarantee their security from any external force. The Americans' conditions were straightforward and twofold. 1. All of Saudi Arabia's oil sales must be priced in US dollars, no currency other than the US dollar. 2. Saudi Arabia to put its excess oil revenue into US debt instruments. Yes, it appears to be simple and straightforward. However, it was a really smart move by the United States. They knew exactly that if Saudis accept the US offer, It would be enough to push the US economy to the next level in the coming decades. From Saudi's perspective, the deal looked not bad either. They are going to get a security assurance from the US. And the only thing they have to do is to sell oil in US dollars and invest any excess money in US treasuries, against which they will earn handsome returns as well. By 1974, Saudi Arabia had fully implemented the petrodollar system. It didn't take long for other oil-producing countries to follow them, just as the US had cleverly predicted. This new dollars for oil system was more convenient for the US than the previous dollars for gold system, because its economic requirements were much less strict. The arrangement provided liquidity as well as demand for US dollars. When a government lacks US dollars, it must find a way to acquire them in order to purchase oil. Therefore, countries have chosen to trade their goods and services for US dollars. Every worldwide oil transaction essentially serves as a twofold debt to America. First, oil buyers must pay in US dollars for their purchases. This creates a demand for the US dollar internationally. Second, oil-producing countries' excess income is invested in US government debt instruments. This creates demand for US debts. The United States gains at least three immediate benefits from the petrodollar system. First, it boosts demand for US currencies around the world. Second, it boosts demand for US debt instruments. Third, it allows the US to purchase oil with a currency that it can print at will. The demand produced by the petrodollar system gave Washington the carte blanche to resupply the world economy with freshly printed dollars, which it had lost after the Bretton Woods. The US doesn't want to produce or sell anything to keep its currency afloat. Nothing to worry about its trade or budget deficits either. There are only two things the USA must do. First, make sure Saudis keep selling oil in US dollars and maintains the status quo. Second, print money, buy stuff, consume, and chill. But is this a sustainable option? Or things might change suddenly? If that is the case, how the USA will react? Well, time will answer to all the above questions. However, one thing is certain. America's principal purpose is to keep the petrodollar system intact. Everything comes next. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing, which means a lot to me. I love to see your thoughts in the comment section.